Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Michaela Peters. We have some crazy hair going on today because I keep sleeping on wet hair, which is a terrible idea. So let's put that away. This is going to be my pajama series, which has been most of my channel for a while at this point because work from home. It's me and my baby, and she's working on her apparently pincher reflexes with frozen peas. Doing a pretty good job at that. So good for her. And maybe me making this video is going to make her kind of calm because she was getting bored watching the French cartoons I put on. Why are we watching French cartoons? Well, because we arrived in France actually when we flew over to Europe. And to our detriment, it's very dramatic. The one book I usually read to her, like her nighttime book, bedtime stories, that's the word. My mom accidentally unpacked it, so I bought a bunch of French books, and now I'm just reading to her in French, which my French sucks, so I don't know how that's going. Anyway, the real point of this video is to talk a little bit about what our cruise experience was like, and me kind of reflecting on whether I think going on a cruise with a child is a good idea. Ultimately, probably the answer to that is yes, but in general, I'm going to talk about our experience on the cruise. So, I made a video yesterday in Russian about things that I bought while I was on the cruise, and I selected a bunch of them and I put them here because these are going to serve as reminders of the ports that I actually visited. So, we were on, and this is going to be the coffee one as well. We were on Costa cruises. And apparently Costa used to be a good cruise line up until they had a sort of lawsuit situation because one of the people who was driving the boat ended up accidentally crashing into a shore and killing some people in the process of trying to show off for his girlfriend. That's how the story goes. I did not fact check it. If you're curious, you can do it yourself. Some random guy in Malta told me this, and then when I started telling this to other people, they're like, oh, it was this cruise line? So, yes. So, as a result, I think that, the quality of the cruise has gone down. Apparently, some cruise lines are about the boat, some cruise lines are about the ports. The ports here were pretty cool, so that's good, but yeah, the actual ship itself that you were stuck on, alright, there you go. The actual cruise line itself, here's the thing that I decided was yeah, I would not recommend it, but you get what you pay for, and it was super cheap because we had a group discount rate, so we had 40 of us, so we paid $700. And if you're on a boat for a week and you're paying $700, it's $100 a day, and you're getting fed a crap ton of food. Honestly, that alone is probably worth it. But, if you go on a cruise and you're paying to go on a vacation, usually you want to enjoy it. So there's also the whole, not time value of money, but opportunity cost, as I call it. So if you're taking time off of work, you want to enjoy the time you're taking off of work. And if you're not enjoying it because you don't like the cruise line, well, that's a problem, if we're not just considering the cost of the cruise itself. So the only other cruise I've been on is a Royal Caribbean cruise when I was literally 15 years old. As a 15-year-old who was obsessed with sugar, and to be honest, I still am, the fact that I had access to unlimited cookies was amazing. And that's really kind of the only thing that I remember about it. I also remember there were 2 days where we were at sea completely, and I was doing my homework on those days, and everybody was like, wow, Michaela's so studious. And it's yeah, and look at where I am today. Still very studious. Okay, so this cruise line, my favorite thing about this whole experience was that, and I'll be honest, this is not meant to be a negative comment at all, but I could tell that it was not a costlier cruise line due to the fact that half of the people on board were literally Kyrgyz or Kazakh. So, they do market differently to people from other countries, and I'm not sure that I've talked about this on this channel previously, but I actually did go to Thailand for 10 days on a charter flight and had my lodging paid for and transportation to and from the airport, all for $860 USD. That is very cheap. Flights alone to Thailand from Kyrgyzstan were more expensive than that. So, yeah, the charter flight was completely booked. Like, not a single seat available on that flight. But, yeah. So, obviously, it had to be a different price point because, fun fact, and, this may be dated a bit as a statistic, but the average income per month in Bishkek is 300 USD. So this makes more sense now, right? And we're not talking about rent and groceries and whatever and what's left after that. So anybody who's affording to go on this cruise, it's not just about like, okay, they have to have some money, but the country obviously has a lot lower of an economic situation than those coming from the Western world. So again, this just, me knowing what I know about Central Asia gave me an idea of how cheap this cruise really was. And probably because the profit margins maybe are a little bit narrow, and this, again, also has to do with the fact that, like, the cruise line lost a bunch of money, obviously, because of, this lawsuit situation. So, yeah, that's a whole situation. A random side interlude is I actually made a friend who turned out casually to also be an influencer, and I'm like, maybe we should do a collab, and I'm going to see her today, and I'm going to propose it to her. And actually, like, one thing that I think that's kind of hard about being an influencer is that it is kind of lonely because you're like creating content, you don't like really know the people. They think they know you, right? And to an extent you kind of know about me, right? You don't like know me, but I feel like it can be a kind of lonely experience, especially compounded by the fact that you're an international person in Finland. So I don't know what I think the solution is to that, but side comment. Okay, anyway, so yeah, I didn't really have a lot of time to interact with my Central Asian homies, as I call them, but I did end up making, like, maybe 2 friends, if you want to call them that. One was this random guy sitting behind us, this guy was, like, omnipresent. We saw him, like, everywhere all the time, at every single port. Like, he was just around. They were Kyrgyz. And then I met this Kazakh woman who had 2 kids, and we were talking about that. So having a baby is cool because now I can just talk to people about having kids, and that's like an additional like common interest, like relational point when I talk to random people, as I do. So yeah, the boat itself, I'm going to be honest, the food sucked. Occasionally there was something good, like the beef tartare and the desserts. It's really hard to mess up a dessert, though, in my opinion, because, sugar always tastes good. But most of the time. The other thing that was tricky about it was you could only eat food at designated times. You could also only fill up your water bottle at designated times. That was really annoying. So that part I did not love. Like, the food aspect I did not love. Cruise ships are crowded by nature, but I think because the food was not accessible constantly, it was really just like a madhouse every time you needed to go to the buffet, and I just did not love that. And, after a while, the food just, like, I don't know how, apparently there are people who kind of, like, literally live on cruise ships if they're retired, and it's like, how the heck do you do that and eat the same thing for breakfast every morning? It doesn't even taste that good. I couldn't. I mean, I do eat the same thing for breakfast every morning. It's usually... Thank you. Thank you for letting me know you needed more peas. There you go. I usually eat chocolate croissants from Lidl, but I digress. Okay, but yeah, the food, that was probably the hardest part because I'm not even a foodie, but like, I don't like eating terrible food. But it was so cheap that I just kept reminding myself, like, hey, at least you're getting fed. Think about how much money you spend on groceries every couple days, and you're like, honestly, and I didn't have to prepare or do the dishes, so I've been thinking a lot about that, and it's like, it was still cool. Now with a baby, again, this kind of thing where it's like you're having somebody like basically provide all your meals while you have a baby, that is great, okay? So that takes away some of the, general workload you're dealing with, like, yeah. So okay, I'm going to start with the fact that I thought the staff was very nice. Like, there were so many things that were cute. Like, they had like a kids club thing, and they actually gave her a toy, and it's over here. I forgot to show this in my what I brought back video, but whatever this thing is called, the OG calculator. But, oh, you like this? She likes it. Hi? Okay, she wants to be on my YouTube channel. Cool. Anyway, so they gave her this and just like left it on my bed one day. And this is like a nice toy, and it was free. And I was like, that's really sweet. So I loved that. And then, you know, they have some little activities for kids. There was like a bubble show I took her to. It was so cute. So that stuff is cool. And then somebody else gave her like a stuffed animal. It's over there for free. Like that was also very sweet. So, and then like the lady who's in charge of the salon, she loved the baby, and she actually put her to sleep for me one day. That was pretty cool. Oh my god, you're really eating all the peas. I'm gonna have to go buy some more. So that was nice. Like I really just felt like the staff was really sweet. There was this Egyptian guy who also loved her and was like giving me clementines to feed her and was like, you need to feed her good food. So again, like the staff was like, I really liked the staff a lot. One tricky thing was we kept trying to do our laundry and kept like filling out the form wrong, and then they miscounted the number of items and they kept sending it back, and by that point it wasn't going to get done in time before we left the cruise. I had just enough clean clothes, but it was to the point where when I came back to Helsinki, I actually did not have enough clean clothes. There are a lot of peas here. Would you like them? Yeah. Yeah, she's a little bit snotty. Eek. Okay. So, yeah, the staff was cool. Trying to do laundry, that sucked, and it's just like, wow, things just don't work. I love that. Somebody was telling me how they couldn't regulate their hot and cold water in their bathroom. So, whatever. That's fine. Yeah, so again, the cruise experience itself, like, I guess it could have been worse, but apparently they're retiring this boat soon, so I don't know. But there were cool things like, you know, there were shows every night, and like, honestly, overall, for what I paid for, I'm happy with the experience. It's just everybody was complaining about it, and I get it because I had been on like a better cruise before, but like 15 years ago, obviously, like I said, but I still think for like what I paid for it, and with having a baby and stuff, it was fine. I think in general it gets kind of exhausting, like I said, like, you know, you have to, first off, you have to be up early. Then it's like going and getting your food, and then it's like a madhouse trying to get your food, then you're trying to get off the boat, and like with a baby, sometimes it's a lot to organize, even though I already dragged this baby around the world traveling with me, and again, in some ways it was easier because the food part was taken care of, and, you know, your logistics are taken care of. You can leave all your stuff on the boat. You're not, like, bringing all your luggage with you like I would be if I was, like, flying between countries. So, you know, like, I would probably do it again, but it was a very, like, exhausting experience just because of, like, the sheer number of people around you all the time. Look, I'm autistic. That makes me exhausted. She likes it. Cool. This baby's probably not autistic. You're way too social for that. So, good job. You did not inherit that from either of your parents. I'm so proud of you. At least not yet. I was going to make an off-color joke, but I'm not going to do that right now about vaccines, but we don't need to do things like that on the channel. Okay, so again, like, I would probably do it again, but like maybe I'd want a slightly better cruise line. Yeah. Like, I think for me, the food was really the hard part. Chess. Okay, so these are all the ports. So we started in France, and then we had, I think it was Genoa was the first port, but this was the only time I had an opinion. This was the only time that I had an opinion about taking a excursion. Okay, so the excursion we took was to Monaco, because I've had this obsession with going to Monaco because it technically counts as another country, and I'm at a point where I just keep visiting the same countries, and I've been to 50 countries, and I've been to 52 if we're going to count San Marino, which I went to this year, and Monaco, which I went to this year. So Monaco was cool to visit one time, in my opinion. I don't need to go back there. It's like way too bougie for me, and I just, like, it didn't make me feel any sort of way besides, okay, this is interesting. Okay. But it was still cool to see. Then the next one that we had, it was still, like, in Italy, was Civitavecchia. I kept making up the name of this. I was like, Civitavecchia. There's no D in this. It's not the name of this place. That port was very, you know, I went to Mestre, and I stayed in Mestre when I went to Sicily. When I went to Venice, those are not the same place. Sorry, I have Sicily coming up next, so that's why that's on my brain. And that was the vibe I got from it. Like, Mestre is, like, the poor city next to Venice because it's, like, where people commute in from. That is the equivalent of Civitavecchia with Rome, because you could have done an excursion to Rome. I'd already been to Rome. My friend hadn't, but we were just, like, super slow getting off the boat that morning, so we didn't have enough time to take the 1.5-hour train ride to Rome. So we did not do that. Maybe we mildly regret that just because this port kind of sucked. But I needed a new suitcase, and I bought it there successfully because it was a poorer city, so I could buy one for pretty cheap. So that worked out for me. Okay, then we went to Sicily. It has this cool design. It was my first time going to Sicily. So this is what we're doing over here. Okay. It was my first time going to Sicily, so that was pretty cool. And really, the name of the city was Messina. It was fine. It was a better city than this whatever one I just talked about. But what was the issue I had with it? Just, I don't know. Like, the problem with some of these cities is they're not, like, main city attractions, so there's not, like, a bunch to just go and do there, and then you don't have a lot of time, so you're just, like, walking around and just, like, doing nothing. It's fine. I went to a pharmacy there, and I bought Q-tips for the baby. Like, literally not much to do, and had cappuccino. And, of course, a cappuccino! A cappuccino! Here, you can play with this magnet. You want it? Okay. She said okay. That's interesting. Okay. So then we went to Malta. So I already have a Malta magnet, so I bought some soap. This is for my friend. I usually buy gifts when I'm on vacation because I don't normally enjoy shopping. So I like to do it casually, like, and unexpectedly. Malta we'd already been to before for 2 weeks, actually, in 2023. So we met up with some friends we made there, like with my family, because my family was also on this cruise. I was mostly hanging out with my BFF, the whole time, but sometimes we were with my family, but my family and Americans in general are very into doing their own thing. That's why I'm like, where is this Finnish energy? Can we channel it of moving in a unit as Americans? But no, because that's not how Americans work. But anyway, Malta, like, we literally just, like, what did we even do? We went out to lunch with these friends, and then we went to the beach. Actually, does this one? No, don't play with that one. Play with that one. Okay. So, yeah, I need to feed her. That's what's going on. Let me finish this. Yeah, I don't know. Malta, then we went to the beach. That was so cute because that was the baby's first time in the ocean, and she loved the beach, so that was cool. Then we went to Crete, and then we saw, like, oh God, where did we even go? Some historical thing. I will have to look up the name of it. That was kind of cool. My friend finally had an opinion on something she wanted to do, and so we did that. And then we went back to the boat, but we didn't eat all day because we were out running around. And then we were actually hungry for dinner. And obviously hunger is the best sauce. And it tasted a lot better that day than usual. So that was Crete. And then last we ended up in Athens and we disembarked. And we were in Athens for literally just a day casually. Went up to the... Dude, what was it? Was it the Parthenon? But we didn't actually go inside of the Parthenon because we didn't want to pay for it. I've already been 15 years ago, maybe 14, 13, something like that. But my friend was like, yeah, I kind of wish we went up. I was like, you should have said something. Because we were with a group of people who didn't want to go. The only time we were moving in a unit the whole trip. So overall, I think it was a success. We had been planning this trip for literally, you don't want any more peas? Okay. We had been planning this trip literally for like a year, so I'm glad it worked out. And now we're just chilling in Finland like we like to do. But overall, was the cruise line not mine or anybody else's favorite? Yes, we did not like it. However, I still liked it enough and had a nice experience, and therefore I would recommend it. But I'm also not bougie, and any chance I have to interact with my Central Asian homies feels like I'm at home. And then it was like, just felt like a sign that I need to go back to Kyrgyzstan at some point, but I'm like, please, can these flight prices stabilize again? I'd like to remind you that after COVID, they started freaking out, and then they went back to normal. So I'm hopeful something similar will happen. But until then, I don't have too many trips planned. So we're gonna, and obviously traveling costs money. So instead, I'm gonna try to put more energy into this channel. We'll see if it works out. But anyway, I hope this was interesting, me talking about this cruise line and my experience on it with a baby. In general, I would recommend a cruise with a baby. But in general, I would recommend traveling with a baby because, as one of my friends once told me, when I was pregnant and I was like, what do you do with a baby? He's like, babies want to see the world. So you do all the same stuff that you already do. Which is what I do, and that's why sometimes it does not feel like my life has changed that much, other than I don't go out as late at night anymore. It's probably the only difference. And increased workload, but life is work anyway. There's something more meaningful about contributing to somebody else's development with your... It's kind of like why people like teaching and mentoring, you know, with your own energy, and you're affecting somebody else positively. So it's cool. And plus you tend to like your own children, hopefully. Okay, well, until next time, whatever we're going to talk about, don't know yet. Okay, bye.